Alrighty, now let's get to work on that top knob. Make that top knob up there. All right, so first off, I always want to start off looking at it, thinking about what I'm going to make. And I'm going to start off with basically the same idea that I did with these knobs right here. So I'm going to switch to the front viewport and zoom out a little bit. And no, not the front viewport. Let's go back to perspective. And let's tell the perspective viewport to please be in a right view. There we go. And I want to be in this area right here. Then I get on the Create tab, and I'll click on Cylinder, and I'm going to click and drag out a slightly larger cylinder than the last one, and then I'll switch to the Modify tab, and I'll call this the upper knob. Okay, the upper knob. And I will back to perspective and mouse around here and realize that my knob is like, well, it's way too thick, unnecessarily thick. So let me lower that height down. Again, I want the height to just be a little bit taller than what I need it to be. Then I can move it till it goes into the TV, and when it's sunk a little way into the TV, should be fine. If I bring myself to a nice right view here and take a look, I can kind of align myself here. Now, there's a little trick here I could show you guys. Um, Here in the perspective viewport, as I move like this, I'm changing the position in Y. So if I click on that knob right there, I'm going to copy, Control C, its position in Y. Come up here, click on the Y, and I'm going to paste it. Enter key, and there we go. Now, each of these knobs has the same position in Y. I mean, this one does because I cloned it from that one. So then when I cloned it up, so its Y position remained the same. Now, this one right here is ready for me to start to work on it here. And so flipping it around here to the side, and it's a little bigger than the ones below it. So I'm happy with the fact that it's a little bigger. Um, I'm going to right click it and convert it to an editable poly. And as an editable poly, I'm going to grab its polygon right here, and I'm going to click on the bevel tool. So I'll click on the settings menu, and well, I need something selected first. Better select the polygon, and also don't accidentally move things around. I'll click on bevel, and of course it does a crazy bevel that I did not mean to do. So let's see. I think I'll bevel it 0.2, and then the bevel height, 0.15. That looks good. Click the check mark on that. And look at this, and then I'm going to just grab the move tool, and I'm going to push that down just a little bit. Yeah, I like that. Move that down just a little bit. Okay. Now, the knob here, this one's different than the one on the bottom. So I am going to do another inset. I'm going to do an inset to create this top flat edge. Actually, I'm going to do an extrude, and then an inset. So let me hit the extrude menu. And of course, an extrusion of 10 is definitely not what I want. Hold the spinner down and run that up. That might be a little too much. Yeah, just 0.1. An extrusion of 0.1. That'll be fine. And with the extrusion of 0.1, then I think I will do a bevel. This time, instead of beveling out, I'm going to bevel it in. And I'll bevel it in negative 0.15. So negative 0.15, beveled it in, and the amount is just too much. Yeah, a bevel of about 0.1 with a bevel height of negative 0.15. And that's great. That's got that shape nicely. All right. Now from here, looking again back at this thing. So now I've come around this edge and I'm heading in. Now I'm ready to go up. So I want to bring this piece up. So that would be another bevel, but this time just a little bit larger. This time I do want to go up. And that looks pretty good. Let's go take a look over here and see how we feel about it. I might start fine tuning it. Yeah, somewhere around there. If you wanted to be really nitpicky, maybe 0.45. And the negative 15, maybe I'll just go negative point 0.1. Hmm, there we go. Not quite as steep. All right. Yeah, I'm happy with how that's coming together. So now I've come up to the top edge here. I need to come in just a little bit. This looks pretty thin. This looks really pretty thin. So let me see, where's my inset at? Ginormous. Let's set it to like 0.05. Good. 0.05 is perfect. And then I'm going to extrude it, and I want to extrude it inward. Too far. Maybe in about negative 0.25. So if we're in about negative 0.25, I think we're going to be just fine. And if I come out here and take a look at this, yeah, I'm pretty happy with the look of it. And I got to go do something. Back in a minute. All right, now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put those little ridges around the edge of this object. Look here, you can see it does have these little areas here. So I'm gonna line these up with the lines that are on the knob, and I'm gonna do it in the same kind of way that I did it for the previous knob. Only this time they'll be oriented slightly differently. So I'll go over here to this. Now at this point, I realize I did a bad thing. Back here when I made cylinder 8, let's double click that. What is cylinder 8? Ah, I'll single click that. Leg 4. Ah, leg 3. Mr. Booth did a bad thing. What's the bad thing Mr. Booth did? Leg 2. I'm beginning to get a lot of objects in here, and they're all named box and cylinder, and that's not a good way to work. So let me be consistent here. There's leg 1. All right. Now over here, I've got base 4. And base 3. Base 2. And with a little unnecessary space there, base 2. And then base 1. That takes care of all the bases. This box, which one is this? What is this box? Let's zoom in on it. Let me hit the Z key. Hey, what are these guys doing right there? Those are all my little... I know what those are. That's another problem. I left these things lying around, you know? Um, I'll come back and fix this other stuff in a minute. Let me select the TV case and let me right click and go hide selection, because that basically gets the biggest thing out of the way here. And then this one, that knob, I'm going to go ahead and delete it. And this knob, I'm going to rotate it back 90 degrees. And I'm going to get the positioning tool and I'm going to put it back, pardon me, at the origin. Let's go zoom in on this. Now, when we made those little objects right here, these little objects, I forgot to make sure that they were part of the knob. So I put the knob back, but all those little objects did not come with them. So we need to make all those little objects stay with the knob. So I'm going to select everything here, and I'm going to hold my Alt key down and click on the knob just so I've got those selected. And I need to fix something. I want to affect the pivot only, and I want to center align to world. There we go. No, align to object. No, center to object. There we go. I want all those pivots. I had taken all the pivots for all of those objects, and I had put all those pivots at 0, 0, 0. And I left them there too. I need to put all those pivots back where they belong. So all those pivots are now back with their objects. And more importantly than that, let me turn off affect pivot only. I want to group this whole thing together. I'm going to put it in a group and I'm going to call it knob one. Or maybe I'll just call it what it is. Bottom knob. There we go. So this one's the bottom knob. Now over here on the modify tab, and for everything else that I'd like to do here, let's get the rotate tool and I'll rotate 90 degrees and look at it. Now all of those little objects went along for the ride. I'm going to right click and unhide all so we got our TV back. And I'm going to get the move tool and bring this thing back to the outside and zoom in on it and wheel back and move myself up here into position right above that. And all right. And then lining up in Y. If I wanted to line up with the one that's up there now, I could go get its Y coordinate, Control C, come down here, Control V. And now I know those are both lined up. They'll all be lined up. Hold my Shift key down, bring this one up, and we'll go ahead and make it an instance. And the name we're going to give it is middle knob because, well, it is the middle knob. There we go. So it's an instance. That way, when I paint one of them, I'm going to paint the other one because I am going to paint them. I've got to apply some materials to them. And then let me select both of them because one thing I notice here is they are still outside of the TV and we need to sink them into the TV just a little bit, and they are sunk into the TV. And there we go. So now we're getting closer here. Now, I've just compounded all of my work here in some ways. All of these little boxes right here. Let me click one other thing. And let me see here. Okay, Max is kind of glitching on me a little bit here. Ah, see? Now I'm wondering why I can't get at them. Okay. Because they're in a group. So I'm not going to be able to select the individual knobs. I'm just getting the group, and I cannot get the individual tick marks. So I'm not going to worry about it right now. All right. Up here at the top on this one, getting our tick marks on this knob. We're going to get our tick marks on this knob. No, I know what I need to do now. I'm going to go to the group menu, and I'm going to open that group up. And with that group opened up, I'll be able to call that arc 1, arc 2, arc 3. You get the idea? I'm not going to have you watch all this. I'm going to pause the video. All right. So now, just to clarify here, I was fixing up my layers panel here, and I actually added 5 new layers and put like all of the bottom knob group, the bottom knob, all of the 18 little tick marks over there on the bottom knob, and created another layer for the middle knob, which contained all the middle knob stuff, including the middle knob group and the middle knob and all of its pieces. And then also set up one for the supports, the bottom of the TV, all of these objects, the base and the legs, after I named all those objects. And then the TV case itself, uh, the case, the lettering, and even the teapot, I threw that in there. And the latest thing we're working on right now, which is the upper knob. So I can zoom on that upper knob, which we're working on right now, and get zoomed around here so I can see this thing. And now I want to work on this upper knob. I also want to make sure that this is the active layer. I know it's the active layer because these blue sheets are lit up right here. And this way I know whatever changes I make to this, I'm gonna add all those little tick marks to it. They're all gonna get added right to this layer, and it's gonna come in organized. So with that upper knob selected, I'm gonna right click and I'm gonna hide unselected, which will basically hide everything else in the room. I got angle snaps are already on. I'm going to push this thing over 90 degrees and then get the move tool and put it down at 0, 0, 0. Let's zoom on it. There it is. Turn my grid back on, pressing the G key. It's back at 0, 0, 0 where I wanted it. All right, cool. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a box. So I'm going to get a box right here. And the cool thing is when I build this box, you can see that it's automatically being added here, and I'm going to call this one Mark 01. And then with that mark selected, I'm going to go ahead and get it into position. Let me get a top view here and see what this looks like. That is a very big mark. Zoom in here, move to the Modify tab, and let's see. Let's see. Top is not going to be the side to look from. How about the front? Yeah, let's look at this from the front. And let's bring this up here. Let's start messing with this actually. Can't see much happening there. Ooh, that thinned that out, and I do want that thinned out. And I'd like that a little bit taller. So I'm going to want this to go up this knob. If I look at the reference image here, I got myself zoomed in. This thing starts at the bottom and goes all the way up in a little ridge. So let's see. In X, now this thing is. Ooh, I just got myself in an orthographic viewport. Back in the front. Zoom on that. Switch to perspective. And zoom in here. It's huge. Yeah, thin that out. Let me turn off angle snaps and get the rotate tool. I would like to rotate this thing. Looks like a pretty good rotation there. Push it in to the case there. Okay. Move it down. I'm going to bury it. I'm going to bury the base of it so it looks like it comes right out of that. And then I'm going to adjust the height. And let's see here. It's just too tall, but that's okay. I'll just move it down till it's not just too tall anymore. That's looking pretty good. Looks like I'm pretty centered all around. All right. Now, I'm going to get on a top view of this and move out of my way here. Now, here's where I'm going to do some magic here, some dark magic. In the top view, with that selected, I'm going to switch to the Hierarchy tab and click on Effect Pivot Only. And then I'm going to align the pivot to the world. So I'm going to zero out its X, its Y, and its Z. So the pivot for that object is now moved to the center of the world. I'm going to turn off Effect Pivot Only. I'm going to turn on the Angle Snap tool, and I'm going to turn on the Rotate tool, and I'm going to turn on Angle Snap. Again, this has got 18 sides, so I'm going to do another one of those. I'll hold my Shift key down. I'm going to rotate out exactly 20 degrees, and rotating out 20, I'm going to tell it to make 18 copies, and I'm going to go ahead and click OK, and bam! Actually, I made one copy too many. Let me find number 19. No, number 20. Let's see, one. Okay. Oh my gosh. 36, 1. 36 and 1 are the same thing. So I can delete 36. There we go. Got them all. Just clone them all the way around. Now let me go back to perspective viewport, and look at that. Looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. I like it. I like it very much. Indeed. Okay. Cool. So one thing though, the way the naming came out, I wanted this to be like 2, and this is just me being picky, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm gonna pause the video. Well, now that's gonna look like it took just a flash. But anyway, I went through and I named them all. Sorry to be so just stickler about that. And I would like to make sure that this whole thing. Ooh, but one thing. Let me select all those marks. At the moment, every single one of those marks, their pivot is right in the center of the world. And I do want to make sure that I'm going to affect the pivot only, and I'm going to align center to the objects. So that's going to send all of the pivot points back out to their individual objects. I'll turn off Effect Pivot Only and go back to the Modify tab. And now everything's been restored. I can go ahead and collapse the upper knob, and I can even squeeze this a little bit over here now because I'm kind of done with all that. I'm going to right click and I'm going to unhide all. And just like that, I've gone and put my so here's my upper knob. Actually, let me. There we go. That's cool. I want to select all those little bits and pieces. And it's all in the current tab. I want to group them. And I'll call this the upper knob. All right, so it's the upper knob group. So now they're also grouped. So they're all grouped together as well. I'm going to go ahead and rotate this. Let's see. That's the right side, 90 degrees. So it's ready to go back where it belongs. And I'm going to pull it out here a ways because I know that when I unhide all, yes, I want to unhide all. There we go. Now that I've unhid all, I can see, okay, my upper knob is ready to go back into place. About right in here. And I know that I can get its Y position right here. See. So there we go. I've pasted the Y position. Now these are all lined up. I know I'm guaranteed to have them all lined up. I'm in a perspective viewport. Let's see. Ooh, I'm hanging out in space. I could drive a big rig pickup truck through that. Let's push that into. the TV. Yes, I'm pushed into the TV now. There we go. All right. Let's see how my knobs are looking. All right. Pretty happy with how everything looks. I bring up my reference image here and put that off to the side and back out a little bit. Um, I've recreated the knobs. The knobs have definitely been recreated. They look pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and stop this video and then we'll wrap this up. I think there's only going to be one more video where I put final materials on.